Did you miss your football games this week? Do you need to catch up? Welcome to Catching Up with Carter here on Saddleback College Radio. Thursdays at 10, he will recap it all.
Hello and welcome to Catching Up with Carter here on 88.5 HD2 Saddleback College Radio, and thank you so much for checking in. This is our last show for the fall semester. We got a ton of things to go through today. We are going to be covering all Los Angeles sports as we've covered all year. We're going to be covering the Rams, Chargers, Raiders, and 49ers games, and because college football has wrapped up, we're going to be going into the entire NFL playoff picture, some rumors around the league. We're, of course, going to give you some fantasy tips and some updates, and then we're going to do something called blind ranking. We're going to be looking at three different players, three different quarterbacks, some statistics, and looking at how they compare to each other. We're just listening to Save Your Tears by The Weeknd, and at the beginning of the show, we listened to Bye 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 by NSYNC. We got some amazing music today. We went back. I actually went into the playlist this week and decided we're going to do a flashback. So there's all different songs from all of the shows that we've had this semester. We're going to listen to If I Fall by Quavo, and then I Really Want to Stay at Your House. And then we're going to get right into our football recap here on Catching Up with Carter on Saddleback College Radio 88.5 HD2.
Rams, Chargers, 49ers, Raiders, USC, UCLA, and of course, Saddleback Football. He covers it all. It's Carter Kirchhevel, your Saddleback student sports voice.
Hello and welcome back to Catching Up with Carter here on 88.5 HD2 Saddleback College Radio. We were just listening to If I Fall by Quavo and I Really Want to Stay at Your House. Two great songs from previous shows. I think I Don't Really Want to Stay at Your House was actually one of the earliest shows we had. I think it was week 3 or week 4. If I Fall was definitely an early show as well. So we're kind of going through the shows that we've had in the past. But let's go right into what's going on maybe from just last week, which is all of our Rams recap. We're going to start off with the Los Angeles Rams as they do play tonight against the 49ers. We're going to start off with them and talking about their entire game that they had against the Buffalo Bills. Now, this game was in contention for myself as game of the year. The Rams played against the Bills. We remember that they played actually in the opener, not this season, but last season, and this game was amazing. So we're going to go through a recap right now. Right away, the Rams, they start off with a great first drive, and they take an easy touchdown. So they go up 7-0, and then Josh Allen, he decided to strike back. It's 7-7. He gets a touchdown from the 1-yard line. That ends the first quarter. Then in the second quarter, the Rams do get a field goal. And then the Bills, they get punt blocked. An amazing play from the defense and the special teams. They get a punt block. The Rams, they take it back and basically just get an easy touchdown. It's 17-7. So it looks like it's all Rams right away. Then the Bills, they do get a touchdown. So it's 14-17, making it a 3-point game. But then Puka Nacua, he found the end zone, 24-14. Bills have to punt, and then the Rams, they run the clock out in the first half. As we talked about last week, the Rams had a really difficult first half, and then the second half, they went off. And they took that momentum from that second half and went off in this game in the first half. They played amazing football. You can see they're up 24-14. They're up by 10 points against the Bills. The Bills are a Super Bowl contender. Crazy game for the Rams. But let's look into the second half. Bills right away, they have to punt, and then Kyler Williams, he finds the end zone. Up 31-14. The Rams are crushing it. Then the Bills, they finally find some light. They get it to Shakir. It's 21-31. Then the Rams, they find another touchdown to Cooper Kupp. So 38-21. Then Josh Allen, he does get another touchdown himself. It's 28-38. That ends the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter kind of became a game. The Rams, they had to punt right away. Then the Bills, they find the end zone and make it a 3-point game. It's 35-38. So it's a 3-point game right there. Crazy so far. Then Puka, he scores a touchdown, so it's 44-35. They do miss the extra point off of that one, but Rams still up 9 points. And the Bills, they find the end zone with 55 seconds left to make it 42-44. The Rams, luckily they recovered the onside kick and win this game 44-42. But wow, a high-scoring game, over 80 points scored in this one. And looking into the good, the bad, and the bold. We started this last week. We're going to talk about the good that happened in this game, some bad things, and then the bold that we think is going to happen for the rest of the season. Starting off, the good, with a win over a potential Super Bowl contender, this puts the Rams in a prime position for the NFC West title. Looks like they'll probably be able to take it. If they win their game tonight, they're definitely in contention to win the division. The bad, due to their record, the Rams have the Seahawks. They're still in contention as well for the division. So this is going to be going down to the wire. And that's my bold prediction too. The Rams will win this division on January 5th in their home game against the Seahawks. I will actually be there. This will be the game that decides the division. Rams versus Seahawks in LA. That will be it for the division. As a 49ers fan, I'm hoping it's not, but that's my bold prediction. Now we're going to move right into the Los Angeles Chargers as they played against the Kansas City Chiefs this last week. Now, for the Chargers versus the Chiefs, this was one of the games where the Chiefs just decided that their voodoo magic was better than everyone else. Right away, the Chiefs, they got a field goal. They go up 3-0 early in the game. And the Chargers, they decide to punt, even in a long field goal range, so they don't trust Cameron Dicker to take that one. They decide to punt. Then the Chiefs, they have to punt and pin the Chargers back to the 2-yard line. That ends the first quarter. Really nothing else happening. And then the Chiefs, they do get a field goal in that second quarter. It's 6-0. And then the Chiefs, they find the end zone right before the end of the first half to DeAndre Hopkins. Still think it's crazy that he was able to get into a Chiefs uniform and be traded during the season to them. But they do have DeAndre Hopkins on the roster, and they do take the lead 13-0. So it's all Chiefs right away. But then the Chargers, they come out firing in the second half. So right away, Chargers find the end zone with Gus Edwards. It's 7-13. Then Herbert, he finds Quentin Johnston in the end zone. We haven't heard that name in a while. They take the lead 14-13. Then the Chiefs go down and make a field goal to take the lead in the beginning of the fourth quarter. It's 16-14. Then the Chargers go down and hit their own field goal. They retake the lead. So it's 17-16. And the Chiefs, they go all the way down the field, drive all the way down into the red zone. And they kick a field goal, and it's doinked off the left upright to win the game 19-17. Doinked off the left upright. I am speechless. I was speechless to that game. I live with a Chargers fan. He was speechless to this game. How did the Chiefs keep getting away with it? How do they keep getting away with it? I don't understand. I just can't get over it. But let's move on. Let's go into the good, the bad, and the bold. So the good. Chargers played a close and hard-fought game that showed this team at the form they can be seen as in the postseason. So the postseason, if they play this well, they can win games. It's just the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs. The bad, this is a tough loss against a tough division opponent and could drop the Chargers later in the season from the 5th to the 6th seed. We'll talk about the playoffs later. We'll see where that puts them, but they're still in that 5th seed position at this moment. The bold, the Chargers will be the 5th seed. That's my bold prediction. And at least win their first playoff game against the 4th seed in the AFC. We're going to talk all about those games later here on the show. Now we're going to be going into the Las Vegas Raiders and their entire game against the Buccaneers.
Raider Nation, stand up!
Now, for the Raiders versus the Buccaneers, this was a game where the Buccaneers and the Raiders played awful. It was a struggle to watch this game. Even for myself, I watched about half of it, and then I just tossed it away, basically, and was like, okay, I'll watch some highlights. And this is not a good game. It was awful. But we'll see. We're going to talk about it here. Tampa Bay, they do get a touchdown right away, 7-0. Then the Bucs, they find the end zone again. It's 14-0, so they're up by 2 scores. And that ends the first quarter. Nothing for the Raiders. But then the Raiders, they get an interception right away in the second quarter. And they finally do get a touchdown from Aiden O'Connell to make it a 1-score game, 7-14. And then they get a field goal. So it is 10-14 at halftime. So it's a close one, 4-point game. So I did think it was going to be good, but just ended up being all Buccaneers in the second half. Then the Bucs, they get some points after a ton of punts from both teams off a run to extend the lead 21-10. The Raiders do get a field goal, 13-21. And then the Buccaneers, they get a passing touchdown to make it 28-13 late in the game. And that's it. The Raiders, they try to do something, and nothing is going on. And that's the final scores. The Raiders, they dropped to 2-11 on the season. Just a struggling season for Las Vegas Raiders fans. Now, looking at the good, the bad, and the bold, the good, Brock Bowers. Period. He is the best receiving tight end we have seen and should be in the conversation for best rookie tight end season of all time. He is playing at an elite level, playing just as good as George Kittle, just as good as Travis Kelce, just as good as Sam Laporta, just as good as Mark Andrews, any of those guys. He is playing just as good as they are, and he's playing with Desmond Ridder, Gardner Minshew, and Aiden O'Connell. Let that sink in. Those three quarterbacks are throwing the ball to him, and he is playing at an elite level. And going into the bad now, the quarterback play. It's awful. At this point, I sound like a broken record. But the Raiders need to draft a QB in this next draft. And the bold, I think that quarterback's going to be Cam Ward from Miami. I think he plays the type of football that the Raiders are used to seeing. He's kind of nonchalant with the football. I think that is exactly what the Raiders are going to want, and I think he's going to be a great quarterback for them. A lot of people are kind of comparing it to Jamarcus Russell in the way that he plays, but I don't see it. I see Cam Ward playing a very good position with the Raiders and doing a great job with them. And that's the end of our Raiders recap. Now let's get into the San Francisco 49ers.
Droopy on the beat. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Bang, bang, Niner gang.
Now for the 49ers, they played against the Bears this week. And we know the Bears are having some struggles on the offensive side and on the defensive side. They just fired their head coach. So this should be a win, correct? I mean, if we're looking at it from the 49ers kind of perspective, this should be an easy win. And really, it was. So let's start this game off. Jauan Jennings takes the lead 7-0 right away. This guy is the number one receiver for this 49ers roster at this moment in time. I'm wearing a number 15 Michael Crabtree jersey, and I want to put Jauan Jennings on this jersey. I want to put a Jennings, just duct tape it at this point. I love him. He's a great player. Then Guerendo, he finds the end zone. It's 14-0. Niners are up by 2 scores. Then the 49ers find the end zone again to Jauan. It's 21-0, so no points in the first half for the Bears. And then the 49ers get another field goal, 24-0, right before halftime. Nothing. I saw a stat this week. I was looking at my phone and watching the game, and I was looking at it, and it was the Bears offense. They had 4 yards in the first half. 4 total yards. 4. The second half, they had 1 play. The first play of the second half had 8 yards. Just let that sink in. Doubled the yardage on 1 play in the second half. Then after that, Bears were able to do something. Robo Dinze did find the end zone, 6-24, as they don't get the 2-point conversion they try. Then Guerendo, he finds the end zone again, 31-6. The Bears then find the end zone again. Duo Dunze has 2 touchdowns, 13-31. 49ers then score another touchdown. It's 38-13. That's the end of the game. 49ers played great in this one, but it's the Bears. It's the Bears. Chicago is not playing well, and the 49ers, they got to prove it tonight. They play against the Rams. Let's go through the good, the bad, and the bold. The good. The 49ers run game is good, no matter who is in the backfield. So Isaac Guerendo did a great job in place of Mason and McCaffrey. Guerendo played at an elite level today. Or not today, but during the game against the Bears. If he can play like that tonight, should be a good game against the Rams. Looking at the bad, the 49ers have a 7% chance to make the playoffs, and even if they do, they will be playing the Vikings or the Lions at the 5 seed. So nothing to be happy about. As my parents are Vikings fans, I know how good the Lions are. I know those 2 teams can beat the 49ers. They both should beat them. I mean, the Lions play them later this year, but we've already been beaten by the Vikings this year. And looking at the bold, the 49ers will be eliminated from the playoffs. It'll be time for the draft. At this moment, it looks like, I hope the Heisman winner, Ashton Jeanty, seen to drop to them, which could be a sign for the Niners. Maybe looking at a different direction for running backs. Maybe going for a dual threat with McCaffrey and Ashton Jeanty and trading away someone else. Maybe trading away Mason for some good picks. We'll see how it goes. That's the end of our NFL recap. Thank you so much for checking in here on Catching Up with Carter. We've got a few songs, then we're going to be going into the entire playoff picture. We're going to be talking all about that. So stay here on Catching Up with Carter, here with Carter Kirchhevel on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2. We're going to listen to Die for the Party by Lecrae, and we will be right back. Hello and welcome back to Catching Up with Carter here on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2. We're going to get right into our entire NFL playoff picture look. We've got a ton of things to talk about, so let's get right into it. We're going to look at the AFC division leaders, the NFC division leaders, and just look at where they're placed and what we predict to be happening for the rest of the season and where they're going to be placed for the rest of the season. So let's go through the AFC right away. As I said with the Kansas City Chiefs, we've got some voodoo magic going on for them. They are 12-1 on the season. They have clinched the AFC West, and they hold the number 1 seed in the AFC. Been playing amazing football in the sense that they can win games that are 1 score or less. It's insane. It's insane to watch, and I can't deny how good they are. So they're the number 1 seed. Looking at the number 2 seed, it's the Buffalo Bills. They are 10-3, and they're fighting to keep this 2nd seed spot as they won the AFC East, but face competition for seeding as the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are the number 3 seed in the AFC. They are 10-3 as well with Russell Wilson. They have blown expectations out of the water as they were going to have Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, and they're 10-3 on the year. We'll have to see who can kind of have their voodoo magic better. Is Kansas City going to have it, or is Pittsburgh going to have it on Christmas Day? We'll see. That's going to be a fun one to watch with the family. Hopefully Netflix doesn't crash. I mean, if you did watch the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight, we know how bad the lag was on Netflix. We'll see if they can hold it this time with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Kansas City Chiefs. And the number 4 seed, we talked about this because of the Los Angeles Chargers. The number 4 seed is the Houston Texans, 8-5. They're leading the AFC South despite their inconsistency. They're still holding that 4th seed. And the AFC South is just, it's horrible. So they can win that division pretty easily. Looking at the wild cards, we got the Baltimore Ravens at 8-5, the Los Angeles Chargers at 8-5, and the Denver Broncos at 8-5. All these teams fighting for a better spot. But I'd say if you want to win your first playoff game as a wild card, you want to be that 5th seed. Playing against the Houston Texans, they're inconsistent. At home, they haven't played 100%, so that's the one I would go for. Looking in contention, we still got the Colts, still got the Dolphins, but they remain in the hunt. They need to win a ton of games to be able to show up and get back into that wild card race, but 6-7 is a tough record. Now looking into the NFC, we know who's going to be the number 1 seed. It's going to be the Detroit Lions. They have been an amazing team this year. Awesome to watch. Fun to watch. Thanksgiving Day was awesome to watch. 12-1. They clinched a playoff berth and lead the NFC. They haven't even clinched their division. Oh, why is that? Oh, the 5th seed Minnesota Vikings are 11-2? I still think this playoff system is just messed up because, so we're going to talk about this. The Eagles are 11-2. They're the 2nd seed. That's fine. But the Seahawks and Buccaneers are both under 10 wins, and they get a home game? Why? Why don't the Vikings get a home game? They're 11-2. They're 11-2. Even the Green Bay Packers are 9-4. They have a better record than both the 3rd and 4th seed teams, and they have to go and play away from home? Away? Why? Why don't they get a home game if they have a better record? I know that the argument will be the divisions and all of that. I think it's awful. I think this system does not work because a team like the Minnesota Vikings should not be having to play on the road as a 5th seed. They shouldn't. They should be able to play at home in US Bank Stadium. Same with the Green Bay Packers. Have them play at Lambeau. They should be able to play at Lambeau. Now that I'm done with my rant, we'll move on from that. It's going to be a tough kind of playoffs to look at. And now we're going to look at the in contention. Los Angeles Rams, Falcons, Cardinals, and the 49ers. They're all in contention, but they all need to win some games. 7-6, 6-7, and 6-7. Just some tough records to try to get there. Now, looking at some predictions for me, I think the division is going to stay the exact same for the AFC. And the wild cards, I think the Chargers will be that 5th seed. The Ravens will be the 6th, and the Broncos will be the 7th. Now looking at the NFC, Lions, Eagles, Buccaneers, Rams will be the 4th seed. And the wild cards, it'll still be Vikings, Packers, Commanders. And looking at these matchups, Broncos at Bills, Ravens at Steelers, Chargers at Texans, Chiefs on the bye, and NFC, Commanders at Eagles, Packers at Buccaneers, Vikings at Rams. I see all three of those games in the NFC being close. All three of them in that first wild card round. All of them. I think the Vikings are going to win. I think the Packers could win. And I think the Commanders could win over the Eagles. We'll have to see. That's the end of our little recap all about the NFL playoff picture. We're going to be talking more about blind rankings. We're going to be talking about three different quarterbacks, seeing their different stats and seeing who should be better if we're looking at three different QBs. Then maybe one of them is going to be a little bit of a surprise. And then we're going to be going into fantasy football. We're going to be talking about who to start, who to sit in every matchup, and some rumors around the league. Thank you so much for checking in here on Catching Up with Carter on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2. My name's Carter Kirchhevel. We're going to listen to We Are the People by Empire of the Sun, and then Heroes by Throttle. And I'll be right back. Hello, and welcome back to Catching Up with Carter here on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2. We've got one more segment for you all. We're going to be going through some blind rankings of three different quarterbacks, then fantasy football start and sit, and then rumors around the league. So let's go through these blind rankings real quick. We did this last week where we talked about Joe Burrow, about his season, how he's been doing. He's still been playing at an elite level. We're going to do three different ones this week. So we're going to start with player one. He's got 3,189 yards, 20 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and a 92 passer rating. Doesn't seem super elite to me. Pretty average. Player two, 3,299 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and 108.1 pass rating. A lot better. 8 more touchdowns, 1 less interception, another 100 yards as well. And player three, 3,033 yards, 23 touchdowns, half the interceptions. He has 5 interceptions, and 101.9 pass rating. I'd say player two and player three, pretty comparable, pretty good, and both are pretty good. And let's see. So player one was Patrick Mahomes. Wait, isn't he? He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion. Yeah, three-time Super Bowl champion. It's player one. Not very good stats. Player two is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, the guy who played on the Jets and the Panthers. And then player three is Josh Allen. Player two and player three. So Sam Darnold and Josh Allen have comparable stats? Wow. And I know this is passing stats, so there is that running stat for Josh Allen, but still. Sam Darnold is having an amazing season and is doing an amazing job in managing the talent. It's on his team. Addison, Jefferson, Hawkinson, and Jones. They've all played amazing under him. And the question is now, do you pay him? They got J.J. McCarthy or Sam Darnold. That's the decision. And for me, I'm paying Sam Darnold and I'm letting J.J. sit behind him. I think McCarthy will be able to learn under the talent that Sam Darnold is. And that's why I'd say pay him. He's playing great, as you see. Player two was just as good as player three. Sam Darnold was just as good as Josh Allen in the passing stats. Of course, running stats, that's a different story. Now let's go through fantasy football start and sit for this coming week. We got a game tonight, Los Angeles Rams at 49ers. And I'm saying start Brock Purdy tonight. He's going to throw a ton of yards. He's going to play well. And I'm saying sit Cooper Kupp. I think Javarius Ward's going to lock him down. Cooper Kupp's not going to do much. Going to Sunday, Dallas Cowboys at Carolina Panthers. Start Rico Dowdle and sit the Cowboys defense. So I'd say I think the Panthers, they've been playing great. They're probably going to put up some points. I'd say sit the Cowboys defense. Now looking over Chiefs at Browns. Start Xavier Worthy, sit Nick Chubb. Then Dolphins versus Texans. Start Jonnu Smith. He has been a fantasy football winner for a lot of people. And sit Tank Dell. Jets at Jaguars. Start Devontae Adams. And sit Brian Thomas Jr. Start Alvin Kamara in the Commanders versus Saints game. Sit Terry McLaurin. Then Ravens at Giants. Start Zay Flowers. Sit Malik Neighbors. Bengals at Titans. Start Chase Brown. Sit Calvin Ridley. Buccaneers versus Chargers. Start Joshua Palmer. He had a great week against the Chiefs. Sit Jalen McMillan. Steelers at Eagles. Start George Pickens. Sit Jalen Hurts. Patriots at Cardinals. Start Kyler Murray and sit Kendrick Bourne. Colts at Broncos. Start Cortland Sutton and sit Michael Pittman. And the Bills-Lions should be an awesome game for that afternoon slot. Khalil Shakir, I'd say to start for the Bills and sit no one. I think everyone's going to play well in this one. And Sunday Night Football. Packers at Seattle Seahawks. Start Josh Jacobs. Sit Kenneth Walker. Monday Night Football, we got 2 games. It's Bears at Vikings and Falcons at Raiders. For the Vikings game, start TJ Hawkinson, sit DJ Moore. And for the Falcons at Raiders, start Myers and sit Darnell Mooney. Now going into one rumor around the league, it's Arthur Smith. He's in the head coach talk right now. Could be getting a second chance as an NFL head coach, as he's been the Steelers' offensive coordinator. ESPN's Dan Graziano reported that news on Smith, who landed in Pittsburgh this year and after 3 seasons leading the Atlanta Falcons. The Steelers' success has nudged offensive coordinator Arthur Smith back onto some radar screens in terms of getting a second chance at a head coaching opportunity. I think he should be able to get another opportunity as a head coach. Last season, Pittsburgh was 28th in scoring offense, and then route to they were 10-7 last year, and they're 10-3 this year. And that has much credit to go to Arthur Smith. He is doing a great job with this offense, figuring out with 2 different quarterbacks. He went from having Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, both of those guys. So he's had to figure that out, and he's done very well. I think he could be a good head coach. And that is the end of our third segment, going through some rumors, then, of course, fantasy football, and our blind rankings. Thank you so much for checking in to Catching Up with Carter every single week. Thank you so much for checking in here on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2. And I sincerely thank all the listeners here on Instagram Live. At Carter Kirchhevel is my Instagram. Make sure to stay here on Saddleback College Radio. We have so many different shows that we have every single semester. Super fun to have everyone around us to be able to support each other. Thank you so much to everyone that has supported me through my journey of doing this show. Thank you so much for checking in on the YouTube page as well, as we had all of our different shows all posted up there. If you ever want to listen to any of those, they're there. And I thank you so much for listening. This is the final show for me for this fall semester. I'll hopefully be back in the spring. We will have Catching Up with Carter back with some new sports. We'll be talking about the NFL season as it wraps up in the spring in January, February. And then, of course, we'll be going into some other sports, maybe some basketball and maybe some baseball. We'll be talking all about that later then. Thank you so much again. My name's Carter Kirchhevel. Thank you so much for listening to Catching Up with Carter here on Saddleback College Radio, 88.5 HD2. We have one more song, and it's Hindsight by Josh Marriott, a good friend of mine. Please stay here for that song.